Hey folks, it's Matt once again, and since we're almost in October, figure try this little lighting in the dark, since maybe create a little bit of mood for reviews. And I know a lot of times I re-review films that I already reviewed a few years ago, but the reason I do that is because you'll find 50 reviews of A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a classic film, but again, everyone talks about it. It's a great movie. But everyone will talk about The Exorcist. Everyone will talk about Psycho. Everyone will talk about... Hell, you'll find 50 reviews of newer horror films. Whether it be Saw or what... You know, I don't know why I pitched Saw. Ouija. You probably find more reviews of Ouija than you do of a great suspense thriller like this, which is a shame. And I'm not just the guy who rants on stuff. That's not what I started on YouTube to do. I actually wanted to, yeah, have fun with that, but sort of have the torch for these underrated films that deserves a lot more than they get. That deserves a lot more talked about than they ever do, they ever receive. So every couple of years, I like to redo reviews of certain films to sort of carry the torch for that film more, whether it be Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, or Jacob's Ladder, or the original April Fool's Day, or The Relic, or Deep Rising, or The Blob from 1988, or so many other films that I enjoy and feel are underrated. This is one of them, because last time I reviewed this film, and also to review this Blu-ray as well, from Umbrella Entertainment, which is it's an Australian company, but this is region free. You can play it on your Blu-ray player in the US. Doesn't matter what Blu-ray player you have, this will play, which is very nice. But yeah, Roadgames, I looked it up on YouTube, and 3 other people have reviewed it, other than me. Pizzo, who's a very nice guy, who I meet once in a while on a video podcast called The Sausage Factory, which starts in October. It's me and a bunch of guys, a video podcast discussing a certain topic or such, and it comes back in October. He heads it. Very nice guy. He reviewed the Blu-ray of this. Another guy, Double Shot J, I believe is his name, he reviewed the Blu-ray, and then another person reviewed the film, and it was like 4 minutes long. So 3 other people of the thousands and millions and hundreds of thousands and all the people on YouTube, and only 3 other people reviewed this film, other than me, as far as I could find. That's a shame, because this is an underrated classic from the early 80s, 1981, which Avco Embassy released this, and it's a slasher film, because slasher films were big, and Jamie Lee Curtis, who co-stars, was in Halloween, Terror Train, Prom Night, so that and slasher films are big. Let's advertise it to get more money. It didn't work, because people saw it. Wait, this isn't a slasher film? They got pissed. What this is a great Hitchcockian thriller. And I'm going to talk about the film, but I'm also going to talk about the Blu-ray at the end of the video. Now, the film itself, Richard Franklin, may he rest in peace, very underrated director. I will put him on my list of underrated directors along with Peter Hyams, Isaac Florentine, for different reasons. Isaac Florentine, he's a good action director. Peter Hyams, he's just made a lot of great films, from Stay Tuned to Running Scared with Billy Crystal to I Love the Relic, I Love End of Days. Richard Franklin was a student of Alfred Hitchcock. He invited Alfred Hitchcock to his college and for a lecture, and even the people behind the scenes would mention that this guy was the biggest fan, he knew every shot that Alfred Hitchcock ever shot in his entire life. And he did a film called Patrick, which I still have yet to watch. I have the film, I believe, but I can't remember actually if I have it. I gotta look that up. But after Patrick, he actually co-produced the Blue Lagoon, which I didn't even know he co-produced the Blue Lagoon, but it's mentioned on the features here, which there's a shitload of features. And after doing these films, he went to the US and he got Psycho 2. which is actually my favorite of the Psycho films. And I've reviewed all the Psycho films. They're still up on my channel. And I talked in depth about how Psycho 2 is my favorite of the Psycho films. I thought Richard Franklin did a great job with that. He did a film called Link, which I have fun with. I have little issues with it, but it's a very well-directed film, and overall I do like the movie Link. Elizabeth Shue, Terrence Stamp, killer ape movie, well-directed, some really cool shots, especially in the third act of the film. After Link, he did FX2. I enjoy that sequel. I think that's a fun sequel. Did he do a film? Did he do that film Cloak and Dagger? I want to say he was involved with that film with Henry Thomas. That's always a film I forget about. I'm not sure Richard Franklin directed that. I remember hearing he had some part of it, but I could absolutely be wrong. Yeah, that's a film I've completely forgotten about. But this film, despite the cover, is not a slasher film. It's Rear Window, but on wheels. Rear Window on wheels. And I love that idea. There's a lot of movies I love that have the Rear Window quality to it, whether it be Disturbia. I actually did review the original Rear Window, and I enjoy that film. It's one of my favorite Hitchcock films, that and The Birds. And, I really enjoyed this flick. Hell, Mimic 3 has a Rear Window quality to it, and I enjoy that film. So, not all, but a lot of films that have that. I think because it's that I like, how do I put it? I like to be observant. For example, if I'm in a conversation, I don't talk much. I do a lot of looking, or I do a lot of listening. And when you go on long road trips, I'm the guy that looks at other vehicles and wonders, what is that person doing? Where's that person going? And I just like the idea of the person who just outside their normal everyday life, something is going on right next door, right outside of their car, or noticing something, putting clues together. Hell, even Fright Night has a Rear Window quality at the beginning as he's looking through and realizes his neighbor's a vampire. So that's like a Rear Window, but with a vampire. The original Fright Night. Stacy Keach does a great job as this truck driver named Pat Quid, who is in the Australian outback, and his new job is hauling these pigs, dead pigs, hunt up, and trying to go to market from point A to point B, and start seeing this guy in a green van and wondering, is this guy a killer? Is he not a killer? Because certain all these little pieces that pop up. Jamie Lee Curtis, she's not in it as much as you think, because she comes in about the 37-minute mark. She's in it for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then she disappears until the end of the film. But when she's there, I think she does a good job. She's a good actress. I liked her as an actress. Wonderful score by Brian May, who I believe worked on the Mad Max films. I believe that's the same Brian May. He did a great job on this. Has a beautiful music with a harmonica. Do do do, 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 do do do. Do 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 do. It's just a great score. It's on YouTube for those who want to listen to it. It's a fantastic score. I like the fact that he's a eccentric truck driver. He's the type of guy that when people ask him, just because I drive a truck does not mean I'm a truck driver. He likes to talk poetry. He likes to listen to classical music. He has a pet dog who is a dingo. But in real life, I don't think you can train dingoes. And even at the end, you realize it's not a dingo because he's barking. And I guess, at least the film says that dingoes can't bark. I don't know if that's true in real life. But I like his dog. It's a really good looking, like reddish furred dog. Silent throughout most of the film. And he has great dialogue as well. Like he stops at a motel. He's about ready to go in, and first he sees this guy in a green van who has a hitchhiker. So that was the girl. Oh, we should have picked her up. Now he's going to have her. And he's about to go in, and then there's no vacancy. He's like, oh great, first he steals my girl, then takes my bed. It has to sleep in the truck. And then one of the first things he knows is that when he wakes up, his the his dog, Dingo, however you want to call it, is snooping through the garbage. And Stacy Keach is like, what's going on? And he looks up, and the guy is looking down at the garbage. And later on, he's like, why would a guy study his garbage and look at it at 4:35 in the morning? So all these little things. And he's a guy who, when he drives, he looks at other cars or other motorists and starts trying to think on who they are. Like this couple arguing, and I wonder if the guy's like an accountant or a banker or something like that. I like when he sees this guy with a bunch of like basketballs, soccer balls, and he says something like, "Oh, what was it? Now there's a man with balls, many balls." And just all these little characters he meets. A motorcyclist who sneezes, so Stacy Keach calls him, "Oh, it's the sneezy rider." There's a just married couple, just married sign on the back. He's looking through the back of their car and sees the woman pop up as if she had given a blowjob. And all Stacy Keach could say is, sucker. Talk about the guy who got married. Sucker. Well, of course, it has double meaning because she is a sucker as well. And this film has a good pace, never gets boring, has good suspense of it. A lot of fun little stuff. So a couple of good stunt sequences. For example, a scene where there's a guy who's carrying a boat behind him and won't let Stacy Keach pass. But Stacy Keach has to get it past because this is during times trying to follow this guy in the green van. And this anchor falls off the boat and tangles with Stacy Keach's boat. I mean, Stacy Keach's truck. And the boat gets pulled off and Stacy Keach's truck blasts through the boat. Old school practical stunt work, really good camera work and cutting, editing, really good looking movie. A lot of great looking shots and dealing with colors. For example, later on in the film, he hears this pounding in the back of his semi truck. He stops and he looks in, and I love the lighting in this scene. It's not in the back here, but the lighting in the scene where he's walking down and he's looking and he sees two things of meat at the very back, and he wonders, was this here before? And he counts the meat, and it seems like there's two extra. And he's looking at the meat and he's touching it. It's like, is this a pig? Is this a person? Just And then a lot of times he talks to himself, tries to like work it out. Okay, is it what I think it is? Am I hallucinating? There's even a line dialogue where he says, "Man, I gotta start taking dope. I gotta just do something to stop these hallucinations." And they do like this cheap jump scare, but it's fun. Whereas like this evil Roo coming, he's like, and then it cuts away, and then it's just like a regular tamed Roo. And I know Richard Franklin mentions that was his attempt at doing a jump scare. Definitely an interesting way to do it. But this is a film that doesn't rely on cheap jump scares. It is a film done in the Alfred Hitchcock suspense, little twists. I don't want to say twists and turns, but the characters led one way, but it's really another thing that's going on, and just really good dialogue. When these two are together, they have some really, really solid chemistry with each other. Like when they're talking about the hows and whys of this guy, if he's a killer, and just a lot of good stuff happening in the film. Fun finale when he's chasing the guy in the green van, and some stunt work and some fisticuffs and some stuff involved. talk a little bit about the Blu-ray before I go any further. The Blu-ray, if you've never seen the film, it's definitely worth to get this Blu-ray because again, the DVD's out of print, and the film looks great. It's still got that old school look to the film, so it's not DNR'd to death or anything, but it's still the best I've seen the film look. It has the features from the DVD, so it has the commentary with producer director Richard Franklin when the DVD was made, as well as the 20-minute featurette Kangaroo Hitchcock, the making of Roadgames, 20 minutes talking with Stacy, Keach, and Richard Franklin about the film. They also have quite a few stuff. There was a documentary, Not Quite Hollywood, about Australian filmmaking, and as the uncut interviews. In total, it's like an hour long, and you have like 10-15 minutes with Jamie Lee Curtis, then with Stacy Keach, then with Richard Franklin, Everett DeRoche, and so forth. A lot of cool stuff. Stacy Keach, he seems really proud of the film. Throughout a few of these features, he mentions how this is one of his favorite roles he's ever been able to play. He's really proud of the film. Jamie Lee Curtis, on the other hand, she pretty much just talks about how when she arrived, apparently there was an Australian woman that was going to play that character, but Afro Embassy wanted another name. And because Jamie Lee Curtis had done Halloween and The Fog and so forth, they had made money. They put her in there, and she took another woman's job, an Australian actress's job. So there's some tension between her and the crew. But overall, she enjoyed the experience, but she doesn't like the movie. I don't know why. It seems like she doesn't like any of the fucking movies she's done. I bet on a day she probably doesn't even like the original Halloween, despite how many features or commentary she can do for it. She probably doesn't even like that film because I know she hates The Fog. I don't think she's much of a fan of Prom. She doesn't really like any of those movies, to be honest. Probably the only film you can get her top positive is when she showed her tits in Trading Places and maybe True Lies, but who knows? Probably those two. But other than that, no. And I don't really get it. I mean, she says, "Oh, it's not my kind of movie." I'm like, "Did you ever see this film? You do know this is not a slasher film, right?" But I guess she just doesn't like well done Hitchcockian thrillers that have characters and writing and a great score and there's really good filmmaking. I don't know. I mean, it's her opinion. I understand, but it seems like she doesn't fucking like anything she does. But the other people seem pretty proud of the film. You also have this interesting. In 1980, there was a lecture on the making of Roadgames. This before the film was released, with Richard Franklin, co-producer Barbie Taylor, and composer Brian May. And this is like over 2 hours long. And it's really in depth, talking about the financing, the film costing 1.8 million, and exactly why it cost that much, the loopholes they had to go through and getting this and getting that, and this deal fell through, so let's go to Afro Embassy, but then Afro Embassy said you can do this but can't do that. It's pretty lengthy, but there's some interesting nuggets in there. And I thought it's something I haven't seen before, but I found it pretty fascinating, especially when they talk about the casting. And Sean Connery was going to be the lead, but he wanted $2 million, which was more than the film itself. And then Richard Franklin mentions how he had to wait for a year and a half because he was doing a James Bond film, and then he did that because then they would let him direct a movie. I don't remember Sean Connery ever directing the film. If I'm wrong, let me know. What film did Sean Connery direct? Unless the people who let him do that James Bond film screwed him over. And then he wanted Cliff Robertson, but then Afro Embassy said that Cliff Robertson was washed up. And so they give like A, B, and C level actors. I did this because A, B, C. What the hell does that even mean? I mean, how one day you just say Townley Jones, he's sea level because he did this and this. No, he's still a damn good actor. Treat Williams, no, he's still good. And those were some of the names in the A, B, and C. James Caan, Martin Sheen, Townley Jones, Treat Williams, Jan Michael Vincent. And I'm like, Sean Connery would have been interesting. James Garner would have been interesting. Tom Lee Jones would have been really interesting to see him in this kind of role. Tom Lee Jones. That would have been. And Treat Williams would have been a really young Treat Williams. Bruce Boxleitner. Bruce Boxleitner, Treat Williams, Tom Lee Jones. Those would have been really interesting. But I'm glad Stacy Keach got it because it's my favorite role of his. He's really good at Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke, but my favorite role he's ever done is definitely this. He's a lot of fun, eccentric, likable, easygoing type of character. And then near the end, Brian May plays some tracks, some musical tracks for the audience at the lecture, and they did pretty interesting stuff. Then you have a 1981 interview with Richard Franklin, which he talks a little bit about making Patrick and co-producing the Blue Lagoon. I think before I said the Blue Iguana, if I did, I messed that up. I meant to say producer of the Blue Lagoon. So if I messed that up before, I apologize. I meant to say he produced the Blue Lagoon. I forget what the hell I said. The Blue Lagoon or Blue Iguana. I meant Blue Lagoon. He co-produced. But he talks about that, a little bit of making Roadgames. That's like 20-some minutes long. You have a 2001 interview with Richard Franklin, which is again about 20-some minutes long. Tells about between school doing Patrick to getting pretty much arriving getting Psycho 2. No in depth on Psycho 2, but making a Roadgames. About a 9-minute audio interview with Stacy Keach, which is a new one. Pretty much all information. If you've seen the other stuff, you've heard all the information before in the 9-minute audio interview. Pretty much Stacy Keach once again reiterating that he had to learn how to drive the truck, and Richard Franklin was a big student of Hitchcock and how it's one of his favorite roles. But still cool to hear. New audio interview with Grant Page, who played the villain, as well as who was the stunt coordinator. You get a little bit of featurette from the DP about the 4K scan, and he also tells a little bit about working with Stacy Keach, which is fun. Then you have like a image gallery, which shows some production shots, stills, storyboards, newspaper reviews, promotional and artwork materials, and more. Some cool stuff, as well as a little bit of an essay by Fangoria writer Lee Gambin, and then an HD version of the trailer. I mean, this is really packed with stuff. I don't know what more you could have done. Richard Franklin, unfortunately, has passed away, but you got all the stuff in the DVD and a bunch of other stuff, so the movie is packed with features. I mean, the Blu-ray is packed with features. Movie looks great. Even has artwork on the disc. And no reverse cover, but I kind of wish they would have done like a fan cover, kind of like what Screen Factory does, just to have a better cover than this, because this cover does not do the film justice. It doesn't. It would have been cool if they would have done a fan cover, because it'd be like, I don't know. This just doesn't do the film justice. It makes it look like a shitty slasher film. And I like a lot of slasher films, but this looks like a shitty one. I mean, if you look at this, you'd be like, oh, whatever. It's S&M shit. This is like that Dolph Lundgren film, Jill the Ripper. Dear God, no. But I won't go on about the film. I want to leave some stuff, surprises for people who haven't seen it. But just a lot of really good touches. Like when Stacy Keach is following the van and the taillights, the red taillights, as he's following the van, rise up and they be like right here on his eyes. Some nice, but stuff you would have seen in Alfred Hitchcock films, and I like that. Sort of an old school suspense thriller. But great cast. These two Stacy Keach especially does an awesome job. Beautiful score by Brian May. Very, very, very solid direction by Richard Franklin. He'll be greatly missed. I know this is Quentin Tarantino's one of his favorite Australian films. I know Tarantino apparently is a big fan of Richard Franklin. It's sad that we're not going to get, I mean, because Richard Franklin is no longer with us. You can find a couple written interviews, but it would have been nice to hear thoughts from him about Link as well as FX2. But I mean, it makes sense not to be on this because this is about Roadgames, not about those. But it's just sad that Richard Franklin is no longer with us because I would love to hear thoughts of his about Link and FX2, which are other Richard Franklin films I enjoy. Or I don't know what's on the Psycho 2 Blu-ray, but I don't know if it's anything with Richard Franklin. I don't even remember when he passed away. I think it was a while ago. But anyway, I'm going off track. Great Blu-ray for a wonderful film. Very underrated. Deserves a lot more dialogue about it. If you like suspense movies, if you're a fan of Alfred Hitchcock, if you like just good, solid, well-written, well-acted, funny at times, good music, good harmonica music. If you want just a damn good movie, definitely check out Roadgames. And if you're a fan of Roadgames, this Blu-ray is definitely worth it. I mean, again, the DVD's out of print, so it would cost you a shitload of money. And this is better looking, and it has more features, and it will probably cost you less than the out of print DVD. And again, it is region free. So either way, thanks for watching. Take care, and stay tuned for more reviews. Da 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 da